Anyway, hi. Um, when I was driving here, trying to figure out what I might want to say, because I've given so many talks. I've even given a good number of talks here, and one of the things that I've noticed over the years that I've been both thinking and talking, and sometimes I do more talking than thinking, but is how two things. One, how so many of my ideas are naive, and two, how so many of my ideas are just wrong. And it's really interesting. I mean, I believe it's because I'm getting older. The kind of forced necessity to be honest with myself. That like when you start on like the spiritual path, you have this like peace-loving granola thing where it's all going to be easy and simple and good, and then it may be. It just from the inside, it's not so simple, and from the outside, that's just not true. I mean, there is no part of this unfolding world that is just peace, love, and granola. And I see that the big challenge, one of the big challenges, there's so many of them, is one, like spiritual transformation is so much harder than we give it credit for, and we are so much less capable, not capable enough the right word, knowledgeable and wise than we like to admit. And it creates both, at some people spiritual bypass, and in other people like spiritual bullshit. But I mean, from what I can see, when people attempt to connect with what's inside of themselves, as opposed to just following the worldly path of nourishment and success and acknowledgement or outside, that's a big attempt. And it shouldn't be held lightly, and under no way does it appear that was designed to be easy. That this is probably, I mean, I don't know, the hardest thing that we can do, is to go against the grain of conditioning, of culture, of external rewards, and of the fear and anxiety that we're all burdened with, that we're not going to have or be enough. And what I see in this is, again, when I get back to that, my own understanding of myself, that I have naive views and I'm wrong a lot. That's a tough reality to confront. That much of what we think is wrong, not all of it. I mean, I'm just saying, if you're really honest with yourself, you're wrong a lot. You're just wrong. It's like funny. You think things about other people, they're not true. You think things about yourself, they're not true. You have political points of view, they're ridiculous. One time, I was on an airplane. I've been on an airplane a lot, but this is just one time I was on an airplane. And it was a Southwest airline where they allow their steward people to have a sense of humor. So the woman's person said, we're here for your safety. And, we hope you're safe. And if there's anything else you want, we're not going to do it. We're just here for your safety. You can starve to death for all we care. You know, you can die of thirst, but we're going to make sure you get to your destination in one piece. And anything else, don't bother me. So I'm laughing at that because it's wonderful. You know, thank you. But the guy next to me, I remember this vividly. We're both in the front seat, and we're going from, I think, Phoenix to San Jose. And I think I was on a TV show being interviewed about forgiveness. And he was coming back from something, and we started to talk, and he was a colonel in the Air Force, I think. Could be the Navy, I don't know. And I was a forgiveness teacher, you know, whatever. So we're talking for a bit, and he's a lovely guy, and so we're chatting about politics, and this is probably a decade ago, maybe 11 years ago. It was either right when Obama became president or right before Obama became president. And I remember we started talking about the Iraq war, which was still going on. And I remember saying to him, I think, you know, it's our bad. You know, because in my political point of view, is we invaded them. And his political point of view was different. And we started talking, and about 30 seconds in, I realized that he was one of those people who had forgotten 100 times more than I ever knew. About, he had been stationed in Iraq, he had been a squadron leader of, you know, jets and stuff, he was a scholar, and clearly any opinion that I had about the Iraq war, while perfectly good opinion, was based on a fact based about this big. And his opinion, while not the same as mine, was based on a fact based about that big. So what do you do? You know, what do you do? And that to me has now become one of the challenges of life, is to try to recognize for myself how often my opinions are based on facts about this big. My prejudices supplement those facts, and they're about this big. My cultural conditioning, whatever that might be, is like this big. And yet, occasionally you meet somebody who just knows more, flat out knows more. And the spiritual based question is, how do you quiet down enough inside to both recognize the staggering limitation of what you know, and be open to the probably many people who know more than you on so many different levels? The humility of it, you know, the simple, what do I know? And it was funny because I'm driving from where I live, so you go over the mountain, little mountain thing here, and I'm seeing cows, and you know, I'm watching, I'm thinking, I don't know anything about cows. And like the green energy thing, and I'm thinking, I don't know anything about that. And after about 3 minutes of reminding myself how I don't know anything about most everything, like, wow. Now, I do believe that these moments are absolutely necessary for anything that we might call spiritual. Is to like address the part of us that thinks we're so much better and smarter and wiser and intelligent than we actually are, doesn't look at the hundreds of ways we make mistakes all the time, and therefore shuts out real wisdom. That's so many different places because that wisdom doesn't look and sound the way we want it to sound. It's a very interesting thing how this self, it appears, will protect itself at the sacrifice of almost everything else. So I also remember I gave a series of talks, probably, I can't remember, but it was at I think it was a Science of Religion Center in Southern California. And I flew down, and the minister there told me that they invited a couple speakers like me to supplement what they were doing with their church. And so they had a gratitude thing and a abundance thing and I don't know, like a half a dozen things, and forgiveness. And I was the speaker after their like forgiveness thing, and, you know, where they have like every month they have a topic of the month. And she said it was so interesting because for the abundance like seminar, whatever they did, they had like 100 people. Because everybody wants to be abundant. For the forgiveness thing, they had like 6 people. Because the self doesn't see any advantage for having more of renunciation of the self, which is what forgiveness is. You know, it's like, hey, it's not all about me. Abundance is all about me. And forgiveness is not. It's a humility. And so they had 100 people for abundance, and 100 people for gratitude, and 100 people for something else, and 6 for forgiveness. And as I've thought in my own head, and I've listened to so many people, it's very hard to bring humility along for the ride. It's very hard. And yet I don't know what kind of spiritual growth there is without it. You know, now I understand that forgiveness is the advanced spiritual curriculum, not the preliminary spiritual curriculum. I think generosity is an advanced spiritual curriculum, while gratitude is a more simplistic spiritual curriculum. And there is, as Maslow's hierarchy very clearly established, there are deficit needs and meta needs. And the deficit needs are, I need more. I have to have more. Whatever it is, I need more of it. I need more friends, love, tolerance. It's all me and I need more. And Maslow postulated a whole series of needs around I need more. And then he said there's also meta needs, which is I have enough and I need to give. And those are entirely different from the deficit needs. And those are the higher order needs. That was what Maslow clearly was saying, and that's how I understand things now more. That there are simple things like, which are based on our terrifying understanding that we are separate bodies in a personality locked into that body, which can never be safe and is always in danger. And so that separate self always needs more, always, because it's never safe. And then somehow, some aspect of that separate self sometimes connects with something that allows that separate self to realize that somehow it's enough, and then it wants to give. And that giving can take place as forgiveness, or kindness, or generosity, or patience, or tolerance, or listening, or all of the things. I remember when I was writing, I wrote a book called Forgive for Love a while ago, and it came at a time in my marriage which was challenging. And so I used the writing and the thinking as a way of bringing forgiveness into my own world. But I remember writing that book, and I was looking at like most of the books on marriage out there. I mean, not marriage, but successful relationship and communication. And almost all of them were about, how do I convince you to give me what I need? Which has nothing really to do with deep, successful relationship. It's just a deficit model. You know, it's Maslow's lower order needs. I need more from you. I'm so wonderful, special, delightful, important, everything, that it's all I have to do is reveal that to you, and then you'll want to give me more. And if that doesn't work, I'll coerce you, and if that doesn't work, I'll use some of these techniques. But still, the point is to get you to change, to give me more. Whether it's speaking skills or whatever it is, it's just, I need more. And I realized that, you know, that wasn't anything that I was particularly interested in. And it's why forgiveness is so hard. Because at some level with forgiveness, you're saying, I'll take less. And it's okay. And in fact, sometimes that might be the most noble gift that you can give, is to accept that. But I remember thinking of at that time, again, how hard this is when we're only thinking of shoring up this little self that can never be shored up. I need more. I need more. I need more. I need it better. I need different. I need you to give me more. Let me talk to you again about how you're not giving me what I want. Because if you didn't get it the first 400 times I said it, I'll give you 400 more times. I got time, you know what I mean? And it's poignant. Because we all do it. I mean, all the time. How can I get more? And I, you know, and I look at some of the spiritual practices, and most of them are designed so that you become okay with what you have, not needing more. Like one of the things that I see, even about gratitude, is how that's been perverted, and I don't think Facebook has perverted it. It's just Facebook shows the perverted expression of gratitude. Gratitude's purpose is ego transcendence. Like, that's the purpose of gratitude. You know, I am aware of the goodness outside of me. And I say, thank you for that goodness. I had nothing to do with it. That's what gratitude is. It's humble and it's ego transcending. You gave to me because you're good. Facebook is all about you gave to me because I'm good. Which is almost a ruining of what gratitude is about. Which is humility. You know, which is thank you. But we don't, the desperate self can't go there. It's almost impossible. But I remember, you know, looking at some of the Buddhist practices and having, you know, taught almost anything I can find. You know, they have the compassionate practice where people breathe in other people's sufferings. Well, most people won't do that. And they simply have found out most people will not breathe in other people's suffering. They won't. They're asked to imagine that they're breathing in the pain and breathing in the heaviness for the purpose of processing it and sending it out as care. And most people will not do that. They will not take on suffering. It's just how we are in our frightened state. And then there's the Buddhist practice of sympathetic joy, where they ask people to actively be happy for what other people have that they don't. Because unfortunately, I mean, really, unfortunately, these are the practices that lead to spiritual growth. Ego transcendence, ego suppression sometimes. Kind words, even when you don't feel like it. Like that, that's how we become safer. And it's interesting because having dealt with a lot of people who have forgiveness issues, some of them very wealthy and very powerful and very well known, they don't have enough. I mean, when you don't forgive, it's because you don't have enough. That would be the only reason. You don't have enough to let it go, no matter what it is. I mean, I'm not talking about an hour after something happens, but after a while, if you're still holding on to anything, any blame, or any sense that you need other people's bad to somehow stabilize your world, it's because in here is not enough. And what I have found is it's smarter to try to dial down that need a little bit, rather than expecting the world to change. Because the world appears to be doing what it's doing, just keeps on doing it. And the last thing that I will say when I think about this kind of stuff, because is we need something each simple to hold on to, because I don't think that ego sense can ever be mollified by complexity. I think we all need to find something very simple to hold on to that guides us at some level. And I remember reading enough about the Dalai Lama's decision almost to refer to his path as kindness. When asked, what's your religion? My religion is kindness, because even he needs something simple. What is our deepest belief? So for him, it's, well, when I can practice kindness, I'm in attunement. For most of us all the time, our deepest belief is, I need more. I need more. There's not enough inside, so I need to get something all the time from some source. And that poses our operating philosophy. When you listen to conversations, often people are saying, well, I took a great vacation. I mean, at some level, so what? But it's like people are trying to tell you how they've gotten more or their life is good, because they're not enough. But in some objective place, who could ever care if you took a good vacation? What difference does it make? Or that you bought a new car? I mean, it's like funny. And let me finish with this. I do have a friend in New York who used to write for the local paper on Long Island called Newsday. She would write some things. And one time she had a conversation with one of her friends who had just told her that they had bought a new car. And what this woman recognized was the socially appropriate thing would have been to say congratulations, like you got a new car. And then she started to think about, why would I congratulate somebody for purchasing something? What's the value of that? Congratulations because you purchased something? It's not like you did something, or you earned something, or you've done something of value for this world, you purchased something. So when you buy toilet paper, somebody's supposed to go, wow, congratulations, you bought toilet paper. But in our culture, material success is the value. So you congratulate people when they evidence it. Okay, so she wrote a column. That's what she did. She wrote like a 500-word column for the paper and got hate mail. This was before the internet when everything is hate mail, but she got hate mail, like hate mail's too strong, but she got your un-American responses to her. Well, wait a second, shouldn't we be congratulating people for doing good, or for being kind, or for learning, or being generous, or for offering something that makes the world better, or even maybe saying congratulations to somebody who buys a used car and gives $5 grand to charity with the money that they didn't spend on that car? Isn't that who we should be like saying congratulations to? But she got, I mean, when I found out about it, it had probably been 5 years after it when I became friends with her husband. But I just think about that she got like really harsh comments for bringing up something like that. And so it triggered in me again this, wow, human beings will do almost anything to defend their fear-based need for more and more and more, rather than looking at it. You know, rather than just saying, hey, I'm a frightened little thing here, because I don't know very much. And it appears to be a big universe that doesn't care that much about me. So what do I do about this? Anyway, thank you.